It's number 5 Cincinnati, traveling 88 miles down the highway to take on number 6 Louisville. First place on the line in Conference USA. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Jones, along with Fran Fraschilla courtside. Welcome aboard to this, the 82nd meeting between these two teams, the longest-running rivalry, in fact, in Conference USA. Now, Fran, both teams with something to prove. Louisville feels that they have to protect their 14-game home court winning streak. Cincinnati feels like, hey, they have a bit of a chip on their shoulder. They've been largely ignored, they feel, by the national media. This just their second national TV appearance. This is like Ali Frazier, partner.
Well, these are the two heavyweights of Conference USA. They're going to meet twice during the regular season, maybe a third time in a conference tournament, and who knows, maybe a fourth time late in March.
Let's take a look at our Star Watch. Both teams extremely deep. They will go deep into their benches, but these are the quasars of the night. Jason Maxiell and Francisco Garcia.
Well, Jason Maxiell, Bob Huggins says, is the heart and soul of this Bearcat lineup. Francisco Garcia, he's in the top 10 in 5 different offensive categories in Conference USA.
Garcia trying to snap out of a bit of a shooting slump the last couple of games. Maxiell, meanwhile, playing on a sore ankle that he injured a couple of games ago. This place is ready to burst at the seams. First place in the conference on the line, in Cincinnati controlling the tip. This is point guard Nick Williams.
Louisville plays man-to-man this year as well as anybody in the country.
Maxiell. Williams, they switch it to show on the pick and roll. Maxiell in the corner. Louisville in a staunch man defense. They go inside to Johnson. 7 on the shot clock. Field Williams, great three-point sniper, knocks it down.
That all started because Louisville's rotation to double-team Jason Maxiell was slow. He got a good look to reverse it, and then Field Williams was open at the top of the key.
Field Williams shooting 48% from downtown on the season. Whitehead to D'Artez, big post man stepping out front. O'Bannon with the jumper, misses everything out of bounds. It'll be Bearcat ball, and now we get a look at Louisville's defensive pressure, contrasting styles in their press, right, Fran?
Well, they will. Louisville will pick up man-to-man full court. It's a match-up press. They'll double-team if the ball is out of control, if they can speed up the dribble.
Williams making the conversion in transition from shooting guard to point guard this year. This is Maxiell, who worked on extending his face-up game to 12-15 feet, missing that time. Down the way, Francisco Garcia. A tremendous passer, almost unselfish to a fault. D'Artez. So D'Artez with the short jumper, and Louisville is on the board.
Well, that's a bonus for the Cardinals. D'Artez not known as an offensive player.
Maxiell almost fell out of bounds. Field Williams for 3. He can make you pay. 48% from downtown, 2 in a row now tonight.
Bob Huggins calls Field Williams one of the most improved players he's had at Cincinnati.
Great backdoor cut, and the layup and dunk by O'Bannon.
Well, one of the maxims in coaching is it's hard to press a pressing team.
James White broke the pressure, and Maxiell finished at the other end. Well, Cincinnati so far, Fran, has handled that press so far well by Louisville.
Well, remember, even though they have a little different style of press, they see this full court pressure every day in practice.
TAQUAN Dean, we have some of the best three-point shooters in the country on display tonight. Maxiell, nobody home, and a blocking foul going to be called against Louisville. Foul is going to be against Kendall D'Artez.
Well, you watch Field Williams at the end of the press. Bob Huggins doesn't mind when he shoots that three-pointer. And then watch Kendall D'Artez catches the ball in the middle of the press, and that gives him all 50 feet of the half court to work with.
Jason Maxiell going to the free throw line. Maxiell 2 years ago was Conference USA 6th Man of the Year. Last year was first team all-conference. This game continuing to expand and improve. This might be the bane of his game, though. From the free throw line, shooting just 67%. Let's take a look at the starting lineups for Cincinnati. Up front, it's Johnson, White, and Maxfield. White leads the team in assists. Williams and Williams in the backcourt.
You make a great point, Mark, because 6 different Bearcats have 2 assists or more, led by James White, the transfer from Florida.
Garcia missed both free throws. There's Brett Garcia back the other way for the Cardinals. TAQUAN Dean. Rebound, Kareem Johnson. These are 2 very good rebounding squads. Coach Wiggins was a little concerned about the Bearcats rebounding to start the year, and sometimes a missed shot is their best play. Traveling violation going to be called against D'Arthez.
Well, D'Arthez and Maxiell were fighting for the rebound, and D'Arthez lost his balance. That was a good call.
D'Arthez, the man in the middle, as we look at the Louisville starting lineup. 4 of their 5 starters averaging in double figures. D'Arthez, the lone guy that isn't at 5 points per game.
Well, Luke Whitehead's going to be a key because he's a converted small forward playing inside against Kareem Johnson.
And Nick Williams took too long to inbound the ball.
And we talked to Rick Pitino today about the difference, what made him a better coach coming back to college. He talked about his players being able to guard things like inbounds plays. That time they caused the 5-second count.
Cincinnati going to get a chance to set up its press with Pitino. Taking a couple of different teams to the Final Four. Won the national title with Kentucky back in '96. Bob Huggins, the 6th winningest active coach in college basketball. Whitehead up court, bringing it up against Eric Hicks. Otis George in the ball game as well for the Cardinals. Looking against O'Bannon. Williams guarding Dean. Dean making a transition at point guard this year. Here's O'Bannon with 10 on the shot clock. They call it a half-court set. Garcia foul coming off the baseline screen, and the foul is going to be against Nick Williams. That's his first personal foul.
Well, Garcia is the one perimeter player for Louisville that really has an easy time breaking down the defense. And that time we saw a good example of it.
Just in the way here in the first half. Garcia inbounding for Bannon in a hurry. Rebound by James White, the transfer from Florida. And White bounced it off his foot. Here's Dean. TAQUAN Dean and one.
TAQUAN Dean did a great job of hesitating just enough so that James White's momentum would cause him to fly by him. I'm not sure White touched him, but it was a solid offensive play. Now watch TAQUAN Dean pick the ball up. He sees that White, who's a great athlete, is ready for the block. He hesitates, scores the goal, didn't see a foul, but a good job of recognition by TAQUAN Dean.
O'Bannon out of the game for the Cardinals, meanwhile, Fran, and in comes Al-Haji Mohammed, the Chicago, Illinois, 6'3" senior in the backcourt. Dean missing the free throw, a 90% foul shooter on the season. Here's Williams. Louisville leading by a single with 16:30 to go in the first half. Hicks in the corner. Louisville's half-court defense has really improved this year.
Cincinnati is running that open motion offense that starts with no postman.
Williams already has hit 2 threes. Tony Bobbitt getting set to check into the ball game as the ball is knocked out of bounds. And here comes perhaps the best 6 man in the entire nation, and I think maybe the best shooter in college basketball, Tony Bobbitt.
One of the things about Tony Bobbitt, he's very, very streaky. He can miss 4 in a row, but he doesn't lose confidence. He'll come back and hit 4 in a row.
6 on the shot clock. They got to go in a hurry. Maxiell knocks it down, facing up.
And that's what Jason Maxiell has really worked on, stretching his offensive game.
Garcia to Otis George. A foul inside against the Bearcats. It's going to be interesting, Fran. Both these teams can be very physical. How are the refs going to call it?
Well, you got 3 of the best here tonight, and Scott Thornley, Eddie Hightower, Tim Higgins. They will call it close, but remember, foul trouble will not be a factor early because both teams go to their bench early and often.
And a technical foul going to be called against Cincinnati and Bob Huggins. Ed Hightower teed him up.
I think that's a point of emphasis technical by Eddie Hightower. You talked about how the officials are going to call the game. That's a good example of it.
Francisco Garcia is going to take the free throw for Louisville. Garcia, a 79% free throw shooter, knocks it down. Cincinnati with 14 fouls, Louisville with 1. Garcia just 5 for 20, Fran, from the field in the last 2 games. Spoke with TAQUAN, his best friend, before the game. Said, how are you going to get him out of his slump? He says, hey, Mark, I just got to get him the ball. He'll do the rest.
Yep. Well, they haven't really needed his offense the last 2 games. And if there's a complaint about Francisco Garcia, is he can be too unselfish. So the 20 shots in 2 games, I think, is a good thing.
Otis George now. He'll get 2.
I think that technical, from Bob Huggins' point of view, was probably a good one. It lets his team know that he's going to fight for them in this 20,000-plus atmosphere of Louisville Cardinals, also letting the officials know that he will work them tonight.
This is easily the stiffest competition that the Bearcats have faced all season so far. Ranked number 5 in the country against number 6 Louisville. Both teams on 13-game winning streaks. We'll be back with more from Freedom Hall after this. 15:57 to go in the first half. Let's go courtside to Dave Ryan.
All right, Mark Jones, thanks so much. As you mentioned, it took less than 4 minutes for Bob Huggins to get the Cincy super sub Tony Bobbitt into the game for the first time, perhaps the nation's best 6th man. He told us this morning, sure, he'd rather start, but has really learned to embrace his role off the bench since he's had so much success. In the few minutes before he got into the game, he was talking pretty closely with assistant coach Andy Kennedy to talk strategies, and Tony is clear on what he needs to do. And his teammates really support him, telling Tony fresh legs and a fresh perspective in the game can really help the team start. He's the 2nd leading scorer, guys. As he put it to us today, it's not who starts the game, but who finishes it.
And he is very, very productive. 16 points in 17 minutes against TCU in their last game. He was a point-per-minute machine.
Well, remember, he's a guy that quit 3 days before the first Louisville game last year. He was in Bob Huggins' doghouse.
And he is out of it right now, and he lets Louisville know it. Tony Bobbitt on cue. Makes it a 13-12 lead for Cincinnati.
And when he came back to the team at the end of last season, he dropped 25 on these Cardinals in the big win at the Shoemaker Center.
George missing the layup. Quickly up court, it's Tony Bobbitt. Bobbitt and Field Williams the backcourt. This is Nick Williams missing from downtown. Chased down his own loose ball and got it back. Got 2 for a quarter. Cincinnati leading 15-12.
Well, both Garcia and Muhammad ball watched that time. Oftentimes a shooter knows where his missed shot is coming off. Perfect position by Nick Williams.
And Cincinnati almost got a steal out of the press. And a big collision underneath. As Otis George went for the layup, Nick Williams contesting the shot. Both crashing to the paint.
Well, when you have 2 teams that play this hard, you're going to get guys flying through the air.
Fran, that was almost reminiscent of last night. Travis Diener of Marquette injured, suffering a neck injury in their loss.
Well, and Andy Katz reported today that Travis has nothing more than whiplash. We wish him the best and glad that it's not more serious.
I want to see him back soon. There was a foul on the play. Louisville will inbound. Cincinnati already with 5 team fouls. Louisville with just 1. George seeking loose inside, and then threw it away. Well, we saw Tony Bobbitt hit a jumper moments ago, one of the best 6 men in the country, Fran. Here's a look at an impressive list.
Well, you're right, and the thing about being a 6th man, you mentioned it with Tony Bobbitt, you got to put your ego in your back pocket. You look at a guy like Brian Boddicker, who was a McDonald's All-American. We'll see him Monday night at Texas Tech. And to be a 6th man and be a successful 6th man, you have to accept your role.
Bobbitt accepting his role, buying into the program. Eric Hicks has been a real force offensively in the last couple of games. Rick Pitino calls a timeout as Cincinnati goes up by 5 now with 14:42 to go. Tony Bobbitt and the rest of the clan sometimes caught up in a little bit of a quick fix mentality, but that's not the case anymore. He has made a tremendous turnaround this season. Here's the coach.
Tony's like a lot of guys, you know. We live in a world, Fran, of instant gratification. You know, could you imagine your grandfather, if you told your grandfather, oh yeah, we just go over the bank, put a card, and money flies out at you. And maybe they wouldn't be able to believe that. And that's the world we live in, and that's what guys want. I mean, everybody wants to be a star without putting in the work, you know, without putting in any effort. And Tony's learned, I think, that what it takes to be a good player, and he's been terrific. I mean, Tony has not had a bad day, you know, and that's hard to say, you know, when you've gone for as long as what we've gone, he's not had a bad day.
Muhammad on the break, and he causes the offensive foul. But getting back to Tony Bobbitt, you know, he has a wonderful support system back in his home. He's a native of Daytona Beach, Florida, and I'm talking about Vince Carter, the Toronto Raptors, and his mother, Michelle Carter, who are kind of mentors and guardian angels for him. Michelle spoke with me earlier this evening, said she's going to be watching eagerly tonight from at home, and she's known Tony since he was in grade school, attending his rec league games, and he has really overcome a lot of adversity in his life, going to junior college and finally making it to D1 basketball.
He's wearing that number 15 in honor of Vince.
He does, and doing it proud tonight, hitting a three-pointer. Felix Williams, that time off the mark with a shot from downtown. TAQUAN Dean.
Keep your eye now on Cincinnati. They'll spread the court. Bob Huggins says they have as good a spacing as any team they've seen this year.
Felix Williams being whistled for the foul. That's the 16th foul against the Bearcats, and Louisville is going to be shooting free throws very soon with 13:59 to go in the first half. Muhammad checks back out of the ball game. Back in comes Garcia.
Well, and Mark, when we talk about spacing, what we mean is you want to give your best players room to operate in terms of being able to penetrate, like a Francisco Garcia, and also room to cut.
Cortez posting up big underneath. Rebound tipped by Hicks right to Tony Bobbitt. Here's Moore on the wing. Chad Moore drives it in, forced that one. Louisville with the loose ball. Brandon Jenkins now running the point for Louisville. Jenkins, a freshman, 6'3", from Detroit, Michigan.
He's a guy that was third in Michigan basketball, behind Deion Harris of Michigan and Brandon Cotton, who's now transferred to Detroit.
Garcia forced up the runner, no good. James White now bringing it up to him. White very versatile, and fouled that time. He'll get 2 shots. The foul is going to be against Whitehead. Well, coming up tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern time, Duke at 14-1, undefeated in the ACC. Taking on Maryland. J.J. Redick led Duke with 23 points in Saturday's win over Wake. He leads the team at scoring at about 15.5 points a game. Chris Duhon just got 14 assists. And what a comeback Duhon's made this year. Kind of a subpar season last year for him.
Well, he really has. He's been a big key why Duke has really played well. And, you know, J.J. Redick went through that early season slump, but shoots it too well, really, to remain that way. And don't forget, Gary Williams with a very young basketball team. It's going to be difficult to play in College Park tonight.
What about Duke men and women being ranked number 1? The women taking on Tennessee. That's a game you'll see Saturday at 6 o'clock Eastern.
Always love watching Elena Beard.
7-point lead, the biggest of the night for the Bearcats. Cortez out front. Garcia finally shaking loose. Off the mark. Dean lets go with a 3. And Bob Huggins reaches to his bench. Armin Kirkland, who's been out for the last 3 games with an injured left knee, going to get set to check in. Bobbitt from downtown. Hicks battling, couldn't come up with it. Whitehead out front. Both these teams averaging over 80 points per game. Scoring machines. Dean again from downtown. Cortez battling underneath for the rebound. Louisville a step quicker that time, but it's Cincinnati ball out of bounds.
Well, Tony Bobbitt and TAQUAN Dean have got to be careful they don't get into a mano-a-mano. Both of them forcing jump shots the last couple of possessions.
Shooting the 3 ball is the MO of Rick Pitino coach teams, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but the problem is both teams play very good defense, so what you don't want to do is shoot a 3 with a guy's hand in your face when you can run the clock and use that great spacing we talked about to create open opportunities. Of course, when you think of Rick Pitino, you think back to that Providence team in 1987 that utilized the 3 so well, with Billy Donovan penetrating, kicking to guys like Pop Lewis, Kentucky.
I mean, Kirkland is so important to Cincinnati offensively. A great facilitator on offense, Fran. Gets a chance to see over the defense when he handles. Here's Fraschilla. And he's fouled by Tartez. Well, and what you see right now is Cincinnati attacking the basket. And as good a defense as Louisville plays, they haven't really seen that much this year, a team attacking them like they have so far. Well, timeout on the floor. Coming up at halftime, we'll be announcing the highly anticipated Conference USA Silver Anniversary team. Who do you think should make it from Louisville and Cincinnati? Fran will give you his picks for the squad right after this on the other side. Stick around.
I got you something.
Hmm? Oh, you shouldn't have. Oh, this is nice. And here's yours. I know it's not fancy, but it's what's inside that counts. And what's inside is Labatt Blue.
Wow.
Huh?
I love it.
Break out the blue. Labatt Blue.
Awesome gift.
Oh, yeah.
There are times when it's tough to stick to the fundamentals. But those are precisely the times when they matter most. The same is true in investing. Focus on your goals. Execute your plan, no matter what the conditions. These basic principles aren't always easy to follow, but they can get you there. Oppenheimer Funds, the right way to invest.
The passage is intense, but if you complete the journey, you will find your destiny among the world's greatest warriors. The few, the proud, the Marines.
So finally figured out my major, ceramics.
Nice.
It's not even so much a major, it's more like a life calling.
Like a Zen thing.
Yeah, you know, it's like me and the wheel.
You're really doing it.
Oh, yeah, totally, man. I see myself living off the grid in a yurt making plates in 10 years.
Oh, dude. Bonjour.
Grazie. Thank you.
You can always minor in ceramics.
Yeah.
The Range Rover by Land Rover.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of NCAA basketball. Brought to you by Rolling Rock Beer. Grab a rock.
Welcome back, everyone, to Freedom Hall. Francisco Garcia 0 for 2 from the field so far in a bit of a shooting slump last couple of games. Rick Pitino had an interesting conversation with him a couple of days ago. He said, do you think you're better than Tim Duncan? Of course, Garcia said no. Pitino's point, to make a long story short, was that when he was at Kentucky coaching there, he devised game plans to shut down Duncan. So you have to adjust your games at times to what's happening on the court.
Absolutely. Great players have to know they're going to be double teamed, and they got to let the game come to them instead of forcing it, and that's what Francisco has done lately.
Dean driving to the bucket. Nice tip inside by number 52, Otis George.
Otis George has given Louisville a huge lift. He was a big factor in the win at Kentucky with 13 points and 8 rebounds.
And an offensive foul called against Armin Kirkland. We've been waiting a long time for the Silver Anniversary team for Conference USA. And it's going to be debuting at halftime. Here's a look at Fran's picks.
Well, I went back and forth on that fifth spot.
Did you
with
ever?
Kenyon Martin. You know, you can go Keith Lee, Purvis Ellison, but that's a pretty good 5 right there, Mark.
Can't go wrong with those 5.
I could win with that team.
Darrell Griffith, a.k.a. Dr. Duncanstown, is actually supposed to be in attendance tonight, we were told. One of the high flyers of all time in college basketball. Nice press break, but spoke a little too soon. They took it right back. George. Whitehead. Garcia finally knocks one down. 1 for 3 from the field.
Both teams have been a little bit disruptive in terms of their pressures. It becomes feast or famine, either an easy basket or a turnover.
Maxiel on the baseline. Whitehead with the rebound. Loose ball. And what a screen on Bobbitt by George. Jumper a little bit long by Jenkins. Is there any truth to the axiom that teams that press don't like to be pressed?
Well, that can happen sometimes because teams that press understand the psychology of the press. But I think when you see the press every day, you get used to it.
Here's Garcia. Cincinnati calls timeout.
It's really interesting, Mark. Both teams have gone on 9-0 runs. You'll see Otis George just minding his business in the backcourt. A great way to handle full court pressure. But you see the block shot and watch Otis George again find Garcia down the court. And what I love about the start of this game so far, Cincinnati this year, Mark, has had 21 times they've gone on an 8-0 run. Louisville 26 times on an 8-0 run. So far in this game, both teams have gone on 9-0 runs.
Louisville in the last 3 minutes has done just that. And now what does Cincinnati have to do, Fran, to stem the flow a little bit?
Hey, they got to keep doing what they're doing in terms of attacking Louisville. They've got to do it intelligently. But if you're Cincinnati, you're not going to walk the ball up the court. You're going to continue to play your game. You'll see they go to this open motion offense to try to spread the court.
Lob it to Maxill. Nice cut by Field Williams. Took a little contact, no call, but made the layup nonetheless.
Well, and that's what we talked about. When you don't have a postman that starts out in there, that enables Field Williams to cut down the lane and get the layup.
The time they got over half court to press Garcia. And a chance for a 4-point play.
What a great release by Francisco Garcia. It was out of his hands too late for Williams to recover to, and he found him. Didn't look like he could get the shot off quick enough, but he shot it like he was shot out of a cannon. Watch how quick the release is, Mark. Boom. The ball never left his chest. Sometimes shooters dip that ball to their waist, and that slows their shot down. That time, caught it at his chest and released it.
We're here in Freedom Hall, Louisville, Kentucky. Number 5, Cincinnati taking on number 6, Louisville. A couple of teams in the midst of impressive winning streaks. 13 games in all for both. First place in Conference USA on the line tonight. Mark Jones along with Fran, Fraschilla, Dave Bryant courtside. Tony Bobbitt, nice feed inside to Jason Maxill, using all of that 7-foot 5-inch wingspan.
Well, and Tony Bobbitt used all of the court that time by getting into the middle of the lane. He was able to go left or right and just dropped it off nicely because of the spacing in that offense.
Whitehead breaking the press, and another foul called against the Bearcats. Bob Huggins is apoplectic on the sidelines. He can't believe it.
Bob Huggins is always apoplectic, but keep your eye right here on Tony Bobbitt as he gets into the paint and the help comes up to help. Keep your eye on Otis George. He helps up, which you never want to do because that leaves Maxill open on the baseline.
Meanwhile, Luke Whitehead stepping to the foul line, a 65% free throw leader. Whitehead last year was the Conference USA Tournament Player of the Tournament. Came on strong last year, friend. Did a job rebounding. Patino said, hey, if you don't rebound, you're not going to play. He did that.
Well, you're absolutely right. And keep in mind, his father, Eddie Whitehead, played with Wes Unseld and Wade Houston on those teams in the 60s. And his father was a pretty good rebounder. And his father showed him a bunch of press clippings and said, hey, I'm 6'4", I can rebound. You can rebound if you're 6'6".
3-point lead for the Cardinals.
A lot of people thought Luke Whitehead and Ellis Miles, who we'll get to later, who had that injury, were gone when Rick Pitino got here because they were soft players.
Let's go courtside to Dave Bryant. Dave?
Well, Mark, Cincinnati leads the nation with plus 26.2 scoring margin. It's best in the country. The closest game they've had this year, last week at Marquette, a 12-point margin. We talked with the coaches before the game. Would they be ready for a tight game if it happened in Louisville tonight? They said the experience last week in Marquette should help them, especially on the road. They've not trailed a game this year at the half. They're the big numbers. Cincy, 25.2.
As you mentioned, number 1 and 2 in the nation in scoring differential. Cincinnati has beaten just 2 ranked teams, Marquette last week and Dayton, while they were still a member of the top 25. But this is easily their stiffest competition of the season so far. Williams looking inside. Confronting Max Seal in the low box. Whaley had it knocked away, but he's fouled on the play by Larry O'Bannon.
Well, Luke Whitehead did a great job of keeping Jason Max Seal from getting the ball.
Robert Whaley, a junior college transfer, a 2-time JC All-American. One guy who Coach Huggins is still waiting to kind of buy in and catch on to the philosophy of how they play at Cincinnati. A few games ago, he wasn't, quote-unquote, taking care of his business, as the coach put it, and they left him behind going to Tulane.
Well, the one thing that you know about playing for Bob Huggins, you will not out-stubborn him. He will win the stubbornness battle. Tony Bobbitt found that out last year. Eric Hicks was in Bob Huggins' doghouse last year. It's just a matter of time if Robert Whaley will buy in that he gets out of the doghouse.
It's a short trip there. Really short. You can get an easy pass to that. George with a rebound for the Cardinals.
Well, Eric Hicks had a great point. He said, I either had a choice, rebound or run. I decided it was easier to rebound. And Robert Whaley will find that out as well.
George was wide open temporarily. Whitehead from downtown. Tip. Here's Nick Williams. But great transition defense by the Cardinals to get back. Field Williams for 3. Bobbitt hustling, tipped it away, but right to Whitehead. Louisville with the push. And 1.
Well, Larry O'Bannon stuck by the defense as Cincinnati got back into transition. And you'll see here, TAQUAN Dean finds O'Bannon. O'Bannon just takes it to the rim. Louisville, Cincinnati a little slow in conversion.
Bit of a decision here, Fran, for Coach Huggins. Field Williams now with 3 personal fouls, and I guess logical thinking says you have to sit him down.
Well, there's no doubt you have to sit him down. Remember, they have a lot of depth. They have experience back there. This will allow Nick Williams to step up a little bit.
O'Bannon knocks down the foul shot. Louisville with its largest lead of the game, a 5.
But this may be a good opportunity for Louisville to use some of that trapping we talked about.
Kirkland broke the press. Bobbitt wide open. Hicks battling, kept it alive. But Johnson was out of bounds. Eric Hicks played an outstanding game last week in their victory over Marquette. Played arguably his best game of his Cincinnati career. At 15 points and 10 rebounds.
Well, he's one of those guys inside, along with Kareem Johnson, that do a lot of the dirty work. Don't get a lot of credit.
Dean out top.
Cincinnati now goes to a 2-3 zone.
Dean, an ill-advised 3-pointer, and wide open is Bobbitt. Leaking out and cherry-picking. Got an easy bucket.
Well, great job by Nick Williams, but again, Tony Bobbitt being able to outrun the Louisville transition defense.
I tell you, this is a very physical game. Just observing from courtside, bodies are flying, and that's what Bob Huggins is telling his officials. Whitehead on the drive, and he walked with it.
Yes, he did.
Tony Bobbitt, the point-per-minute machine with an education and anticipation, leaking out for the layup. Back with more at Freedom Hall after this.
So finally figured out my major, ceramics.
Nice.
It's not even so much a major, it's more like a life calling.
Like a Zen thing.
Yeah, you know, it's just like, it's like me and the wheel.
You're really doing it.
Oh, yeah, totally, man. I see myself living off the grid in a yurt making plates in 10 years.
Oh, dude.
Buongiorno. Grazie. Thank you. Thank you.
You can always minor in ceramics.
Yeah.
The Range Rover by Land Rover.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
Only one event combines the best action sports athletes with Mother Nature, live for the first time. Winter X Games 8, live from Aspen, starts Saturday at 1 on ABC and continues nightly at 9 on ESPN.
dude, you know me.
People ask me all the time, Bob, how do you do it? I tell them, hey, it comes natural to me, offering Louisville the finest Honda cars and trucks for over 31 years. No Honda customer is treated better than at Bob Montgomery's Dixie Honda. We are the only dealership to win the President's Award for Outstanding Customer Satisfaction for the last 5 years. Bob Montgomery's Dixie Honda, 10 minutes from the airport on wide Dixie Highway.
Hey, Wildcat and Cardinal fans, looking for a store that offers the best of both worlds? Then come to J.D. Becker, the UK and UofL Superstore. At J.D. Becker, you'll find the largest selection of both UK and UofL products anywhere. And J.D. Becker has exclusive designs you won't find anywhere else. You can even shop our store online 24 hours a day at jdbeckerstores.com. So if you're a Cardinal fan or a Wildcat fan, come into one of J.D. Becker's UK and UofL Superstores, conveniently located inside Oxmoor Center and on the Outer Loop in the Outer Loop Plaza.
Louisville leading by 3 with 7:39 to go here in the first half of play. First place in Conference USA on the line. And don't forget tonight on ESPN2, it's the Knicks against the Rockets. And man, the New York Knicks are playing some ball since Isaiah Thomas shook that organization up. Lenny Wilkins is 4-0 as the new head coach. And Stephon Marbury starting to play some basketball as well, averaging 20 points per game in the last 4 runs. Yao Ming making a push to overtake Shaq, meanwhile, as the top vote-getter in the West.
And remember, Stephon Marbury's cousin, Sebastian Telfair, Rick Pitino hoping that he is a Louisville Cardinal. Last year, he dropped 61 yesterday in a high school game in Brooklyn.
And Rick Pitino rolled his eyes when he heard that.
He could have a chance to be like Carmelo Anthony. When you look at the guys coming back here next year, Ellis Miles, Fraschilla.
Nice block inside by the Cardinals defense.
Well, Diakite is a young man that didn't get his eligibility, a transfer from Barton County, until the middle of December. Still a little raw offensively.
Dean still off the mark from downtown. Bobbert with the rebound. There's Nick Williams. Field Williams on the bench with 3 personal fouls. Kirkland showing no ill effects from that injured left knee. And I'll tell you something about how peer pressure works with Cincinnati. Kirkland was taking a lot of jawing from his teammates and some razzing for not coming back maybe quickly enough from that knee injury. A lot of the bigs on Cincinnati's team were really giving him to him today at shoot-around, Fran.
Well, and keep in mind, the guy that replaced him in the lineup, James White, a former McDonald's All-American. So that's what happens when you have depth in practice. You've got the peer pressure of having to play hard every day or coming back from an injury a little quicker.
Kirkland with a nice rebound and quick outlet to Nick Williams. Partially blocked by Garcia. Louisville 3-on-3. O'Bannon in the trailer. Hicks with the rebound. Up and down we go.
Well, great court vision that time by Garcia.
Gotta give Kirkland a little credit. Didn't think he'd be able to go tonight. Hicks, his jumper off the mark, and a foul going to be called against Kareem Johnson coming over the top. Garcia does it offensively and defensively for the Cardinals.
Well, keep your eye here on Nick Williams as Garcia gets back. He goes up vertically, gets his hand in the air, and that throws the shot off. Nick Williams throwing that ball underneath the iron.
For more on Garcia, let's go to Dave Bryant.
Marquand Francisco came from the Dominican Republic to New York at age 12. He discovered basketball, and his dream of making it big in the NBA, allowing his mother and brother Hector to leave the Bronx, began. Those hopes were tragically shattered last month, though, when Hector was shot and killed in New York. Rick Pitino says to a certain extent Francisco feels if he made it earlier to the NBA, perhaps he could have prevented Hector's death. Now Garcia's desire to help his mother is even more significant. Rick Pitino, guys, told us today that after next year, after his junior season, Francisco Garcia will physically be ready for the NBA and get a chance to help out his mother.
Yeah, Pitino's saying that he'll be the first one to tell Garcia if he's ready to go. He's dealt with that before with the likes of Jamal Mashburn, Antoine Walker, Tony Delk, several other players at Kentucky.
Well, Garcia, the preseason Conference USA Player of the Year, the biggest thing he's got to improve on to get to that NBA level is just his strength. Pitino talked about him putting weight on, still not there. And a good mentor, Rick Pitino, having coached in the NBA with the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics.
And getting back to Garcia, when he first came to Louisville, as you look at his wiry frame, he could only bench press about 130 pounds. Well, now he's about up to 2 1/4, 230 pounds on the bench press. So it tells you something about how much the young man has worked on his strength. 3-point lead for the Cardinals. Kirkland handling the pressure for Cincinnati.
And he handles that basketball for Cincinnati a lot like Francisco Garcia does. A point forward position.
That's the shot Max Seal has been working on all summer with former players from Cincinnati like Nick Van Exel and Corey Blunt.
And that's the reason they can run this open motion offense, because Jason Maxiell can play away from the basket, and that creates great spacing.
Cincinnati comes up with a steal, looking for the push. Bobbitt from downtown Louisville. That's the winner.
Well, when you guard Tony Bobbitt, you've got to pick him up earlier. Just because he was back at that hash mark, you can't assume he's not going to shoot the deep three, and that time he knocked it right in Garcia's mug.
Garcia now, Bobbitt with 8 points for Cincinnati. Dean, he's been pulled from downtown, but not this time.
Well, TAQUAN Dean has that same kind of NBA range that Tony Bobbitt has. You must know where he is once he gets over that half-court line.
Kirkland on the drive, and he's fouled on the play by O'Bannon. Check that Whitehead.
Keep your eye now on Tony Bobbitt. You've got to know where he is. Garcia almost is surprised that Bobbitt will pull up from deep, and Garcia, on the other hand, finds TAQUAN Dean on the opposite side of the court. Great court vision by Francisco Garcia, and of course TAQUAN Dean is going to knock down that open three more often than not.
Eric Hicks going to check into the ball game for Kareem Johnson. And TAQUAN Dean, interesting story with him. He's such a gym rat, as is his running mate Garcia. But back in public school, back in the 8th grade, he got a job at the local boys club just so he could get to know the custodian, just so he could get to the key to the gym at night, just so he could shoot a lot of jumpers. And Max Seal with a putback, meanwhile, for the Bearcats.
Well, we're seeing Jason Maxiell's versatility. Obviously, he's got the power to punish you inside. Then knocking down that mid-range jumper makes him awfully dangerous.
Bearcats leading by 1. There have been a host of lead changes inside the attacking. Rejected, and it's going to be a jump ball. Possession in favor of Louisville.
Well, Cincinnati has gone to that zone, and they've stretched out on the shooters. Diakite, not known as a scorer, as we mentioned, more of a defensive player, but he was so wide open he had to shoot it.
Garcia thought about it. Whitehead inside, and that's a goaltend against Maxiell. Maxiell, one of a couple of Cincinnati players that come into this game with a bit of a chip on their collective shoulders. He said, Mark, I'm tired of watching ESPN and turning on the tube and seeing UConn and Duke all the time. We're number 5 in the country. We've only been on national TV twice.
Well, they're coming off a down 17-12 year, even though they made the NCAA tournament, not representative of the Bearcat teams that Bob Huggins has had.
And Maxiell walking it inside. And of course, I told him, don't kill the messenger. Call the programming people, not us. 4:20 to go in the first half. First place on the line in Conference USA. Maxiell, All-Conference USA a season ago. His team trailing by a single inside. And a foul at the rim on Otis George.
Another great look by Francisco Garcia. I'm not sure Cincinnati that time knew whether they were in man or zone. Otis George got great position. Just keep your eye on Francisco Garcia and the great court vision. Snaps it off his wrist, gets it there quick, and then Otis George with a strong finish.
Otis George from the island of Dominica, 6'8" junior, a bit of a project, but has really come around of late at 13-8 in a win against Kentucky. It was pivotal. He was the player of the game in that run. Played on the junior national volleyball team and soccer teams in his native Dominica. You see that so many times with international players.
That's right, especially kids from the Caribbean. And remember, he's got to replace Ellis Miles, who hurt his knee against Marquette late last February. Ellis doing great. He'll be back hopefully 100% next year. But in the meantime, Otis George is holding down the fort.
4 minutes to play in the first half. A game that has seen several lead changes and ties. Kirkland short. Bobbitt ran it down and wisely knocked it out of bounds off of Louisville. Time out on the floor. Rick Pitino's crew has won 14 straight here at Freedom Hall, dating back to last year. Bobbitt trying his best to break that streak.
home is where the hoop is. With ESPN Full Court, you'll get the most out of the second half of the college basketball season. To order, call your local cable company, DirecTV, or Dish Network.
The 2004 Australian Open is on ESPN and ESPN2. Wow. The world's best sweated out in Melbourne for a chance to win tennis's first Grand Slam. Coverage continues through January 31st.
Wow. Do you know anybody here?
Yes, we're all partners at the firm.
Oh.
Rich. Actually, you look very firm to me. But not smooth.
Hey, I can't believe I ran into you. Excuse us. There's some people you've got to meet.
Thank you.
Smooth.
Who are you?
The waiter.
But not rich.
Salmon puff?
Michelob Amber Bach. Rich and smooth.
Men are going to get killed here today soon, and I'm going to kill them.
You the one killed our friend?
Open Range. Own it today on DVD and video.
John Lynch and his mom brought Chuck Flynn new Campbell's Chunky Grilled Chicken and Sausage Gumbo. It filled him up right.
What else should he be doing?
Sure beats another frozen dinner. Chuck ate heartily. Later, his buddies ate their hearts out.
The 2003 J.D. Power & Associates Award for Most Dependable Full-Size SUV just went to the GMC Yukon. Professional-grade engineering. It's not more than you need, just more than you're used to.
Creech Davis, Jay Billis, Steve Lavin here. Coming up on the Bank One halftime report, we will unveil the Conference USA Silver Anniversary team as voted by a blue ribbon panel. Now, you, the fan, got an opportunity to vote on ESPN.com, and these are the selections, guys, that the fans made in a pretty impressive starting five, to say the least.
Tough to beat. It's not so much who you put on, but who you leave off. And the first one that jumps out at me is Mark Aguirre from DePaul. Was everybody born in the 80s on this one?
How about Terry Cummings, another DePaul?
Tell him, Fran. Tell him they were good.
Anti-DePaul conspiracy, Fran. People forget the late 70s, DePaul, Ray Meyer. Mark Aguirre was a dominant college player and a pretty good pro as well. Now assistant coach of the New York Knicks. What about Clarence Weatherspoon? Yeah. Well, we'll see Mark Aguirre tonight on the bench with that Rockets-Knicks game.
There you go. Kirkland out front. 2-point gain. Louisville with the lead. Out of bounds. It'll be Cincinnati ball with 3:42 to go.
And yeah, we were told he was going to be in the house tonight, and there is Dr. Duncanstein.
Yep. Daryl Griffith. I remember him jumping over a Russian in an international basketball game to dunk the ball.
Great high school player as well at Louisville Male, a storied high school program. There you see that motion again.
Guy Kareem Johnson with the jump hook. And we're knotted at 37.
Now, we talked about that five-man open motion. What that does is no postman starts in the lane, so it's a little more difficult to catch up with a big guy when he flashes to the ball.
Wide open Muhammad from the baseline, knocks down the three ball. Alhaji Muhammad, the senior from Chicago, just put on scholarship in July.
Well, keep in mind, his brother Nazi, who played for Rick Pitino, now an NBA player, able to afford that tuition.
He told me that Nazi's happy he's not picking up the tab anymore. Here's Garcia. Muhammad kicks it out this time. George Forslund. Boy, bodies flying around. There's a mushroom cloud forming over the paint. Bob it outside.
Well, you asked me during the break, Mark, whether I was surprised about this high score, given these two good defensive teams, and I said no, because both teams are attacking teams, and you can see that.
Garcia thought about attacking and pulled it out temporarily. Threw up a brick that time. Hicks with the rebound for the Bearcats.
Well, that was a tough shot. One thing that's underrated about great defensive teams is being able to get a hand up and contest shot.
So are we seeing the offenses win out over the staunch defenses?
I think what we're seeing is the aggressiveness offensively winning out over the aggressiveness defensively.
Hey, don't forget, coming up next tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Duke, number one in the country, taking on Maryland. J.J. Redick led Duke with 23 points. in Saturday's win over Wake. He leads the team in scoring as well. Maryland is 1-2 so far in ACC play, but always tough at home.
My former boss, Gary Williams, you think he'll be sweating tonight?
Might be a 3-shirt night for him. Inside rebound by Max Seal and a chance to tie with a 3. Arlene Kirkland wasn't expected to play, but has done a nice job running the show. Garcia hustling almost came up with the pinch.
Well, keep in mind with Field Williams with 3 fouls on the bench, Bob Huggins is elected to go to a guy that handles the ball pretty well for a 6'8" guy as his point guard or point forward, if you will.
Field Williams, as you mentioned, on the bench in foul trouble with 3. He's 1 for 3 from the field. Foul going to be called as Johnson made his move. Foul's going to be on Whitehead. And Tony Bobbitt getting set to check back into the ball game. Tony Bobbitt with the support system, as we mentioned, back home in Daytona Beach, Florida. Also won out in Idaho, where he went to Southern Idaho Junior College. In fact, a woman he considers his godmother, Cheryl Jackson, had a vision problem and had the problem fixed through a surgical procedure and was actually able to see him play on TV for the first time ever last week against Marquette.
And you know why that was? Jason Maxiell was bugging us about getting Cincinnati on ESPN.
There you go.
So credit Jason Maxiell with the assist.
High speed inside. Whitehead with the jump hook, good.
And a great look again by TAQUAN Dean. Not really a pure point guard.
The foul is going to be called against TAQUAN Dean.
Well, Luke Whitehead is an undersized power forward. You see TAQUAN Dean off the double team, and Whitehead finishes inside. He's only 6'6". He came here as a small forward. A lot of people didn't think that he would be able to handle Rick Pitino's intensity. Some people question whether he was tough enough. And the one thing he has proved, he's had a brilliant career here for Rick Pitino. And you mentioned that great job he's done at rebounding the basketball.
Talk about his father, Eddie. He was one of 3 blacks initially to break the color barrier here at the University of Louisville in 1963. Wade Houston, the other one. White, meanwhile, at the foul line, the Florida transfer knocking down the first. And White slowly acclimating to the way they do things at Cincinnati, becoming more of a factor. It's a 3-point game.
Cincinnati now back to that zone.
Nobody guarding Dean.
I'll tell you what it was, Mark. It was a triangle or two, but there was obviously a miscommunication because you don't leave Dean open.
Bobbitt off the mark. Garcia leaked open temporarily. Here's Dean. 1 minute to go in the first half. First place on the line in Conference USA. Both teams undefeated at 4-0 in conference play. Foul is going to be called against Tony Bobbitt. Couldn't quite get around Whitehead, who was posting him up. That's his second personal foul. Whitehead goes to the line. Whitehead, a 65% foul shooter. Louisville, as we mentioned earlier, has already defeated 2 #1 ranked teams this season. First one against Florida, second time against Kentucky. And this their next daunting challenge, but so far seemingly up to the task. In that Kentucky game, they actually trailed at the break.
Well, and they trailed 21-8 in that game. They got off to a 12-2 deficit. Hung in there. Rick Pitino kept telling his team, fatigue will win out, and certainly did down the stretch of that game. Kentucky not as deep a team as Louisville.
Cincinnati in unfamiliar position right now, trailing as we approach the break. Down by 5. Field Williams, one of their top scorers, their 3rd leading scorer on the bench with 3 personal fouls. James White. Inside, and we got a pushing foul against the Cardinals.
Well, James White, who's an excellent athlete and a terrific dunker, is very underrated in his ability to find people on the court. He leads Cincinnati in assists. That time I was sure he was going to go up and pull up in the rain. He found someone a little closer to the basket, and Kareem Johnson's going to shoot 2.
5.3 to go in the first half. Cincinnati is a team lacking a little bit from the strike, just 67%. Well, coming up on the Bank One halftime report, we look at Sean Payton. It's not his place. Not taking the Raider job, and an update on Travis Dean of Marquette and his injured neck. And we will unveil the Conference USA Silver Anniversary squad. Fran, you were wavering a little bit there, partner. I still love you. I got love for you.
I went back and forth. I did the, let's put it this way, I did the expedient thing.
You wrote those in pencil, not pen.
That's right. But there's so many good players. Jay Billis mentioned, Keith Lee, Milt Wagner, Nick Van Exel.
I'd have to put Wilt Magward on my team. Milt's one of the clutch free throw shooters down the stretch all time in Conference USA play.
How about a father-son backcourt? Juan Wagner, Milt Wagner. Juan didn't stay around long. Cincinnati Louisville will get that last shot of the half here as they run the clock down, Mark.
They flatten it out in a 1-4 set. Here's Garcia. 5 seconds to go. That's going to be an illegal screen out top. Fouls on Perrin Johnson. Cincinnati will get possession.
Well, it's interesting. They want to set up those 4 guys on the baseline. Perrin Johnson, who doesn't play much, a walk-on, he comes up and tries to set that screen, a flat screen, but it was an illegal screen because he was moving.
4.5 to go in the half. Let's see what Cincinnati runs. Coming out of this short break, they check in with Field Williams, one of their best three-point shooters, who has 3 personal fouls, but with that much time left, not really a big risk.
No, but remember, Mark, they have the NBA-style backcourt here, so watch for the light around the backcourt and not just the light in the back of the backcourt.
Bobbin inbounding to Nick Williams. Gets it off, but it's short. George securing the loose ball, and Cincinnati unfamiliar in that they never trail at halftime. Dean, meanwhile, exploding in the first half, late in the first half with 11 points, and Dave Ryan is standing by with Coach Pitino.
Coach Pitino, a very physical, hard-played game. They have the advantage in depth. They can go 11 deep. Can you wear them down in the second half despite that?
Well, I don't know if we wear them down, we can win the game. They're a great basketball team, the best we've played so far, because they're relentless on the back. But we're doing a great job, though, of attacking their pressure. They're doing a great job. It's more of an offensive game, which usually means that second half will be a defensive game.
You're beating 2 number 1s. You have the overtime loss to Iowa. This is the first time that Cincy's been down at the half. They haven't been in a close game. Does that create an advantage for you in the second half if it's tight?
They're a very well-coached team, a great basketball team, best we've played so far this year.
Pitino, 40-5 at Freedom Hall since taking over Louisville, guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Dave. It's halftime here in Louisville. The score 44-40. Now let's...
A lot of pressure off of TAQUAN Dean. These 2 super sophomores have been brilliant, combining for 21 points. Dean, when you leave him open, is going to knock down the open 3. And Francisco Garcia does a lot of things well offensively, including getting out and running the court. Jason Maxill, of course, is the heart and soul of Cincinnati inside, but he also has expanded his game this year. We've seen it tonight as he knocks down the mid-range jump shot.
Maxill with 10 points on 5 of 8 from the field, 3 rebounds, and has deflected a bunch of shots that didn't really show up on the stat sheet. Here's a look at some interesting stats, especially the players used. Each team going into their bench deep.
Well, in this heavyweight type of atmosphere, those 9-0 runs are like flurries. We've gotten through the first 8 rounds, and now we're going to be interested to see who can make one more run than the opponent.
Cincinnati has never trailed at the half this season. Field Williams almost got his 4th personal foul on the drive. 15 on the shot clock. They didn't get a reset. Foul going to be called against Louisville.
And if I'm Field Williams right now, while I want to remain aggressive, I need to stay on the court. So he doesn't want to take a chance like that of getting himself caught in traffic.
That's the 2nd personal foul on TAQUAN Dean. Field Williams, great ball fake. Rebound inside by the 6'4" O'Bannon.
Well, that shot went so high that time, both Cincinnati Bearcats jumped too soon. Larry O'Bannon at 6'4" was able to secure that rebound.
Dean got open on the cut and made Nick Williams pay, nailing the jump shot. Dean now has 13, the biggest lead of the ball game for Louisville. Pitino said going into the locker room, he told Dave Ryan that this is the toughest team, most difficult team they've played this season. So far up to the challenge.
That says something when you've already defeated 2 number 1s.
An offensive foul against the Bearcats. Let's go to Dave Ryan.
Well, Mark, as you can imagine, the Cincinnati coaches talking to me a moment ago after halftime, very upset in their locker room. They said to their players, first 20 minutes, pretty much a sham of the first 13 games of our season. We are trying to do too much, like hit a 6-point shot. We're exactly where we want to be in terms of the patience of this game. They've got to try to handle the pace, which they did in the first half. Everything so far is playing into their favor. They just got to be patient and try to execute the offense much better. They feel okay about the second half.
They didn't get much out of their defensive trap in the first half, although Nick Williams almost had a steal right there.
And Mark, we didn't see them use their traps as much as they did last week against Marquette. And it'll be interesting because for 13 games, that 2-2-1 three-quarter court press has been very effective. Be interested to see if Bob Huggins uses it a little more this half.
See what Rick Pitino calls coming out of this inbound play. It's one of the signatures of a lot of former NBA coaches now in the college ranks. They run certain specific steps coming out of it. See what they do, a little high post cut.
And you can see in this offense a lot of good spacing and ball movement.
Rowland's on Dean, 3 on the shot clock. They got to move quick. They didn't get a shot up.
And because the ball was taken out of bounds and deflected, the clock never rewound to 35, and the Louisville Cardinal players were caught surprised.
Just underway here in the second half. Both teams undefeated in conference play at 4-0 coming in. Louisville has won 14 straight here at Freedom Hall. Johnson out front. Louisville has really picked up his half-court defense. Tough shot inside, and a foul going to be called against D'Arthez. Maxiel really worked for that one. Made himself big inside, Fran.
Well, and Whitehead came to double team, so what Maxiel did intelligently, he just attacked D'Arthez on the baseline. And when you trap double team in the post, you want to make sure that you don't give up the baseline spin or the drive middle. D'Arthez that time was caught flat-footed.
Maxiel is 0 for 2 from the foul line so far tonight. A 68% foul shooter on the season. All right, Reese, and now that we got those technical difficulties worked out, boy, the mention of pressure coming up a lot tonight, Fraschilla. Underneath, Whitehead under pressure and fouled by Eric Hicks. We're here at Freedom Hall, Louisville, Kentucky. The Cardinals leading by 4 with 17-12 to go in the second half. This building sold out for easily the most important game of the season so far for both these teams conference-wise. I'm Mark Jones along with Fran Fraschilla and Dave Ryan. Both these teams coming in on 13-game winning streaks. Louisville has won 14 straight dating back to last year here at home.
Well, and we talked about this game being a game of runs. Both Louisville and Cincinnati in the first half, Mark, with 9-0 runs. Cincinnati has not scored a field goal in the last 7 minutes, going back to those last 4 minutes at the end of the half.
Whitehead missing both foul shots out of bounds, and Cincinnati ball. And in comes the new millennium version of the microwave, Tony Bobbitt. Bobbitt came in and made his first three-pointer attempted in the first half. So far has 8 points. Garcia guarding him right now.
Louisville with token man-to-man full-court pressure.
Bobbitt got the timeout. Took his eye off the ball and called the timeout wisely.
Well, and that's the second possession up the court that Cincinnati tried to make a cross-court pass in order to enter into their offense. And that time, luckily, Tony Bobbitt called the timeout, didn't get cause for the turnover.
Well, coming up on ESPN2 tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, the New York Knicks taking on the Houston Rockets. The Knicks are 4-0 under new head coach Lenny Wilkens, the winningest head coach of all time. And Stephon Marbury picking up the pace. They have brought him home back to New York. The Garden is alive once again. This game, though, in Houston. That one at 9 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN2. Tony Bobbitt came in early in the first half after about 4 minutes and went to work right away.
Well, we talked about a guy who came here as a junior college transfer who needed a little bit of an attitude adjustment. This year, Bob Huggins has had absolutely no problems with him. He plays hard. He plays with a lot of energy. He plays fearlessly, Mark.
Yeah, he said that Coach Huggins did him a favor by keeping him in Cincinnati during the offseason. Now on the offensive end, White, goaltending call against Otis George.
That's a great job of running that five-man open motion offense we talked about. And James White was able to curl right into the lane, and because there's no postman, is able to have that post area to himself.
Shannon gets it over the midcourt stripe. Here's Garcia. Garcia calling out the play. They run a lot of the offense through him. Whaley guarding him. A bit of a mismatch. Flew right by him. And a blocking foul. He'll get a chance for the three-point play.
And Garcia did a great job of sliding off James White, who thought he was in position for the charge. But as Garcia slid, White tried to slide under him and gets called for the block. A good job of finishing by Francisco Garcia. You'll see right here as James White slides over. He's just a little too late. That's good athleticism and recognition by Garcia to avoid contact.
Let's go to Dave Ryan.
Mark, he's one of the nation's top assist men. Francisco Garcia set a Louisville record, 15 assists against Murray State here earlier in January. Teammates like Larry O'Bannon reap the benefits. A record-setting night that night. He had 4 hoops off Garcia's feet. And teammates say if you're not looking at Francisco, you get hit right in the head with the ball. Then you get an earful. He's so slick with his passes. Teammates like O'Bannon have to be ready at all times. No look behind the back. Anyway, it's coming your way.
There was a funny incident earlier when he was passing too much. Patino told Dean to say, "Come to think like Jordan and not Magic. Shoot it." Here comes the crowd. Dean off the turnover. And he's fouled. What's going to be called against Chad Moore? And that is Cincinnati's 5th team foul of the half. Louisville with just 2. And remember in the first half, Fran, they got into the bonus early. Louisville was at the line halfway through the first half.
Well, in a large part because Field Williams, their starting point guard, 2 guard, picked up 3 quick fouls. That hurt Cincinnati's flow offensively as well.
Jason Maxiell going to the bench. So with 12 points, one of the questions that begs is, where's the offense going to come from if you're Cincinnati? Foul going to be called on Tony Bobbitt.
Well, and we talked about aggressive offense and aggressive defense. That time, TAQUAN Dean, Tony Bobbitt with good solid pressure. TAQUAN Dean attacking the pressure.
That's 16 fouls now against Cincinnati and 2 against Louisville. Garcia off the quick inbound step in. Good give and go to Whitehead. And another Bearcat foul. This one on Whaley. They are pounding away on the Bearcats.
Very smart play on the inbound. Because the defender on the ball played in the lane. So they knew just to hand it off. Watch Garcia get it right back. They caused confusion. 2 players go at Garcia. Luke Whitehead open inside because Garcia's man got caught in the lane.
Whitehead has had his opportunities from the foul line tonight, but he is just 5 of 9. Only 9 points in the ballgame. Louisville on the season as a team shooting 72%. This time he makes it. 6-point lead, and as poorly as Cincinnati has played here in the last half of the first half, in the first part of the second half, they're still in it.
Hey, Mark, we're in the 9th round of a 15-round heavyweight fight.
Whaley from the baseline, and the junior college All-American knocks it down.
That is a big shot because he turned the ball over in a previous possession.
Whitehead breaking the press. George had it blocked. Garcia inside. He had it star 69 and rejected. Garcia, nice dish. It is fast and furious and frantic, and a timeout called by Tony Bobbitt as he went to the court.
Well, Luke Whitehead was surprised by that quick dish by Garcia. Wasn't able to finish around the rim.
They are contesting every shot. And folks, as we celebrate our 25th season of college basketball, time to flash back into the ESPN archives.
ESPN, you ready for this? Is going to give a scholarship, room, board, tuition, and I'll tell you what, Robin, I'll throw in the books, baby. If this guy here, Corey Klaus, who was picked out, has to make a half-court shot. Steer him on! Let's go! Get the sledge going! Get it going!
You know, how often does Dick offer to throw in anything? He threw in the books and he made the shot. Huh?
He had a promo deal for the books. But...
Kid never asked for the books, but he got a pleasant surprise. It's a great moment for college basketball.
Midnight Madness at Cincinnati.
Some wonderful, talented players have graced Freedom Hall here. You see the numbers high above the rafters here.
Louisville goes to this man-to-man matchup press. They haven't trapped much out of it tonight. All it's done is try to wear Cincinnati out so that Louisville can get back into that half-court defense.
Bobbitt brings it across the midcourt line. Here's Nick Williams. Cincinnati has had a tough time getting into his half-court offense. Whaley enforcing his style inside. Robert Whaley with a couple consecutive hoops.
Those are two big buckets by a young man who is highly touted and still hasn't yet figured out the Cincinnati system.
Inside they go O'Bannon with an easy bucket. Got by Kirkland.
Kirkland turned to watch the ball and lost track of O'Bannon.
4-point game. Kirkland outside. Jason Maxiell on the bench for Cincinnati. Tipped away nicely by Otis George. Great hustle. Timeout on the floor with 14:40 to go. First place in the conference on the line. And sometimes it is better to give than to receive. It's all about sharing the rock. Back with more from Freedom Hall after this.
Because there are 4 seasons, we make 4MATIC all-wheel drive. Available in every class of sedan and wagon. The Mercedes-Benz 4MATIC all-wheel drive.
This is something that this country is ready for.
The Soviets win. My goal is to beat them.
I want you to be a valuable hockey player!
Think that'll get them going? Oh, yeah.
Is your time. You got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. 5 seconds left in the game. Believe in miracles. Yes.
Miracle. Rated PG. Starts February 6th.
Thanks. Cheers.
Some like beers don't taste like anything. Next time, try a great tasting, less filling Miller Lite. Good call.
You want to see how we do football? Keep your eye on this. This ain't just football. This is NFL Street. Rated E for everyone. EA Sports.
They call him the landlord, and the rent's high if you bring a shot into the lane. The ACC blocks leader, Sheldon Williams, leading Duke against Maryland. We're going to tip that off 10 minutes after the hour. Got more from Louisville coming up now, guys.
Yeah, Reese, that's going to be a great show. Deng, maybe the best freshman in the country. J.J. Redick, along with Bobbitt, maybe the best shooter in the country. And this guy scored the last 2 buckets offensively for Cincinnati.
He's a guy that committed originally to Missouri, had some legal difficulties, ended up at Barton County. Bob Huggins has taken a chance on him, and as we said earlier, you don't out-stubborn Bob Huggins. Once he gets the message, he's going to get increased court time, and you can see the confidence the Bearcats have as that's the third straight possession they've gone into Whaley.
That's exactly what they seem to be doing. And Whaley had knee surgery in early December. Levi Jones of the Cincinnati Bengals had the same surgery. Jones was back in a week. Whaley took a little longer. Huggins made sure to show clips of Levi Jones playing football, saying, hey, you got to get back soon to yourself, fella. Bob it from outside, a little bit strong.
It was a great job by Garcia. Instead of going in front of him, he ran behind Bobbitt, and that messed with his mind a little bit on that long three.
Louisville leading by 4. 14-10 to go here in the second half. George outside. High pick and roll for TAQUAN. Nice feed to Whitehead. How he scored that amongst the trees, I don't know.
Well, he snuck behind the defense on the baseline. Cincinnati lost track of him.
Bobbitt trapped in the corner and turned it over. They turn him over. Garcia. And the Cardinals are on the move. George with the layup.
Well, we talked about this being a game of runs.
And Louisville just landed a right uppercut to the chin. This has been a heavyweight bout. 8-point lead for the Cardinals now. They have 3 players in double-figure scoring.
Well, keep your eye on this high pick and roll now. You see the help from the big defender, Whaley. Now, as Dean gets into the lane, Kirkland helps up, and Whitehead gets caught inside. And then the one thing about Francisco Garcia we've seen all season is great eyes and court vision.
Whaley doing work inside, that time a little bit strong. Cincinnati hitting the glass, and the putback is good by White. Here they come with their press. Fran, I guess when you're not scoring, you can't put your press on, right?
Well, that's exactly right. You got to set it up when the ball goes through the basket.
Whitehead out hustling the Bearcats inside. That time had it blocked. Nick Williams. A blocking foul is going to be called against Garcia. Max Seal checked back into the ball game. Garcia with his first personal foul.
Well, that time Luke Whitehead caught amongst a lot of wide bodies, not able to get that shot off cleanly, and that led to the open court opportunity for Cincinnati. That's something Mark James, Max Seal wouldn't have done a year ago, be able to catch it, put the ball on the floor in the open court.
There's Nick Williams out top, bob it off the pin down. White, good ball movement. Whaley feeling the groove and putting a little bit of hustle in his muscle. Robert Whaley.
This is a really good sign for Cincinnati. You've got 12 other teams in Conference USA that don't want to see Robert Whaley step up like this.
There's the trap. That's going to be a blocking foul against Max Seal. Cincinnati with its 18th foul.
Well, Robert Whaley, highly regarded. We talked about he committed to Missouri out of high school, had some difficulties, went to Barton County Junior College. And once he learns to figure out what Bob Huggins wants, he's going to have a great opportunity to help this team come the end of the season. That makes them even more dangerous than they already are to have a guy of this offensive ability.
Yeah, talked about the peer pressure that the Bearcats were putting collectively on Kirkland to get back. They did the same kind of thing to Whaley to get him back on the floor.
You know, good teams use peer pressure in order to make themselves better.
Whitehead finally makes a free throw. He struggled from the line tonight, 7 of 11.
Mark, one thing that's interesting right now, Cincinnati cannot afford any more Louisville runs with 12 and a half minutes to go. They only have 1 timeout left. They've used some timeouts tonight to save balls from going out of bounds. And that's why I don't mind that rule the way it is. If you want to burn a timeout on a loose ball in the first half, it could catch up to you in the second half.
Whitehead makes the second free throw. 6-point lead for Louisville, just under 12 and a half to go.
You see just man-to-man full court pressure tonight. No, not much trapping.
Jenkins guarding Williams. White out top, inside to Max Seal. That's his favorite spot. That time coming up short.
Maxiell thought he had the mismatch with Whitehead. Whitehead did a good job of staying between him and the basket.
Garcia for three. Out of bounds, it'll be Louisville ball. Nick Williams couldn't corral it in time. And we're going to take some time. Robert Whaley from Benton Harbor, Michigan, starting to assert himself on the baseline and on the box, making Louisville pay a little rent inside and outside. Back with more after this.
Meanwhile, on the 4th floor.
When?
20 minutes ago.
An internet worm.
And a sneaky one, too. Came from the inside.
But the guys from IT said we're safe.
It was caught by the network, automatically. They say we're fine.
How does something like that get in here?
Hey, Daddy, I downloaded a new game on your computer. It's really cool.
Protecting networks and everyone around them. This is the power of the network. Now.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
Only one event combines the best action sports athletes with Mother Nature live for the first time. Winter X Games 8 live from Aspen starts Saturday at 1 on ABC and continues nightly at 9 on ESPN.
Kentuckiana's undisputed #1 Dodge dealer, Commonwealth Dodge, is your program car headquarters. You'll find one of the area's biggest selections of top-quality program vehicles in stock and on sale right now. 2004 Dodge Stratus SEs, original list over $26,000, now reduced to only $14,995. 2004 Dodge Intrepids, original list over $28,000, now reduced to just $15,995. Only at Commonwealth Dodge, 6408 Preston Highway. We do whatever it takes for you.
Your car or home stereo so you can enjoy XM satellite radio virtually anywhere. There's even the portable boom box, so you never have to leave all of XM's channels behind. And now there's the new Delphi XM Roadie, a complete system for your car that you can customize with 7 color displays and 3 faceplates, all for only $120. Beyond AM, beyond FM. XM Satellite Radio, now with 100% commercial-free music. Visit xmradio.com.
Gary Williams Terrapins have 6 wins, or Gary Williams as a coach, 6 wins over #1 teams. His Terps take on Duke. That's coming up 10 minutes after the hour. ACC Wednesday.
Duke trying to hang on to their lofty #1 ranking against Maryland. Always a tough place to play, and there's a look at assistant coach Kevin Willard, who on Tuesday pleaded guilty to DUI here in Louisville. He will remain on the coaching staff. They've dealt with it internally. He was pulled over Sunday morning, failed a sobriety field test, and Patino has dealt with it and said that Kevin knows he made a big mistake and he's remorseful about it. Willard will pay a $200 fine, will lose his license for 30 days, and will undergo alcohol counseling. That is the business at hand, and right now 11:40 to go. Mohammed out top. Whitehead. Got a soft touch and a nice roll.
Well, Maxiell has the matchup advantage inside against Whitehead. That time, Luke Whitehead took Maxiell away from the basket. Used that little bit of quickness to get off that shot in the lane.
8-point lead for the Cardinals. Maxiell forced it up in traffic, then threw it away.
All because of a great double team by Garcia, and Whitehead held his ground.
Garcia stripped, and here's Field Williams at 2-on-1. And White took his eye off the ball. Well, don't forget, coming up tonight on ESPN2, the Knicks taking on the Houston Rockets. Lenny Wilkins undefeated as head coach of the New York Knicks at 4-0. There are a lot of skeptics that felt that maybe the game had passed him by a little bit, but so far, what a great connection and chemistry between head coach Wilkins and his point guard, another New York product, Stephon Marbury.
And there's another New York product, Sebastian Telfair, who many Cardinal fans hope is here next year.
That's a lot of hope, Fran.
Right, a brilliant player. He'd be terrific here. He could really be what Carmelo Anthony was to Syracuse. I find it interesting, Mark, that Cincinnati has taken that 2-2-1 press they've used all year. They've put it in their back pocket. They pressed a little bit full court man-to-man. But I'm a little surprised that they haven't used it because it's been very effective all year. Maybe worried about this crowd and the fact that Louisville also presses.
Talked about the crowd. They've won 14 consecutive games here. The Cardinals have at Freedom Hall. Hicks, meanwhile, with his 4th personal foul. Whitehead continues to do great work inside rebounding.
I think Cincinnati thought it was a 2-shot foul, and they got caught flat-footed.
Yeah, somebody hit the snooze bar that time on the Bearcats. 1:36 to go. A foul out top on James White.
Now, this is what you do with aggressive defense. You attack it off the dribble. Cincinnati has been used to imposing their will all year defensively. That time Garcia puts it on the floor, and he makes James White move his feet.
Garcia at the free throw line. Let's go to Dave Ryan. Dave?
Mark Francisco Garcia grew up in the Dominican Republic. Hard to believe he didn't play basketball seriously until he was 12. He was really into the nation's passion of the DR baseball. He moved to the Bronx 5 years ago to be with his mother. Ended up learning the game around the local playground legends in New York like Seton Hall point guard Andre Barrett. He says he didn't even know what a college basketball scholarship was at the time, but fell in love with the game. Hard work, passion for hoops, from the DR to CUSA. And guys, in case you're wondering, he told us today he played third base growing up, and his hero, of course, Sammy Sosa, in the DR a couple times.
Right. He has really come a long way. Came in here weighing just 165 pounds. Now up to 190. And we got a foul on the play.
Well, Robert Whaley got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Eddie Hightower very emphatic with that call, making sure there was no doubt. And he's talking to D'Artez as well to say, hey, clean it up.
Whaley going to come to the bench. His palms in the air, pleading to head coach Bob Huggins. Max Seal set to come back in for him.
You know, getting back to Francisco Garcia, I asked Rick Pitino about his recruitment today. Gerald Brown, a guy that's very close to Garcia, was a New York Knicks ball boy. Rick Pitino initially vaguely remembered him. When it all came back to him, Brown told him, I've got a kid under my wing named Francisco Garcia, and he wants to play for you. Going from a Knicks ball boy to Garcia's mentor. And a great break for Rick Pitino.
You don't get those phone calls from strangers every day.
That's right.
Knocks down the foul shot. Louisville with its biggest lead of the game at 11 points. 10.5 to go, and first place on the line.
Well, we talked about it being a game of runs. So far, Louisville's had 2 big ones. Cincinnati only 1.
Vic Williams tries to crowd the crowd. We got a whistle. Foul is going to be against Field Williams. Have no idea where that came from, but more importantly, that's his 4th personal foul. He sits down. Tony Bobbitt comes back in.
Bob Huggins is trying to figure out where that came from as well. It's a very precarious situation for Cincinnati right now with their field general on the bench with form.
Louisville has gone to the foul line, Fran, 27 times. Cincinnati just 13 times.
Part of the reason for that is Louisville has been able to attack off the dribble, and every time Cincinnati has put the ball inside, they have double teamed.
White inside, got it to fall. James White.
We talked about that motion offense, 5 men out, no post man. That's the 2nd time this half that James White has been able to curl into the lane, not have to worry about running into any big bodies on his own team.
Louisville calls a quick timeout with 10:06 to go. Louisville lost its opening game, Fran, against Iowa in overtime, and kind of amazing that in losing the first game, a tough loss against a very good Iowa team, I might add, at the time, that they would bounce back with 13 consecutive wins.
Well, you got to keep in mind, Louisville started the season about as late as anybody in the country. Iowa had a couple games under their belt, and that's why I think Louisville was a little rusty that game. But they bounced back nicely against the 2 number 1s, Florida, and of course, a huge win at Kentucky, where they trailed 21-8.
Rick Pitino says that it was important for his team to do a lot of scrimmaging, red against white, to tune up the defense. It paid off in those 2 wins against the 2 #1 teams at the time.
Well, Rick Pitino not optimistic coming into the season, especially with Ellis Miles, their star inside power forward, missing this whole year with the knee surgery.
You said optimistic? If you're a coach, you're a born pessimist, aren't you? Garcia cross court to Muhammad.
Well, remember, Pitino wrote a book, Success is a Choice. So he's a motivator, and he's got this team playing at a high level right now.
Their lead is up to 12, the biggest of the game. James White is fouled on the drive out top. Foul is going to be against Whitehead. That's his 3rd personal foul against Louisville. It's the 16th foul.
After this game, Mark, Luke Whitehead's heading right for the whirlpool because he's got to bang big bodies in there.
Don't forget, after this game, it's #1 Duke taking on Maryland on the road. Nick Vitale and the rest of the gang going to be calling that one for you. Dan Schulman on the play-by-play. Nick Williams lost the handle. And Whitehead once again comes. He has gotten more loose balls tonight than anyone on the floor.
He has transformed his game into a blue-collar game.
Artez out top. Garcia fouled by Bobbitt.
Well, they can't guard Francisco Garcia off the dribble. You talk about Cincinnati being in foul trouble tonight. Garcia able to blow right by Tony Bobbitt. Bobbitt had no choice but to stick 2 hands on him.
And now, Fran, both Bobbitt and Field Williams, their best 3-point shooters, and Eric Hicks, one of their top inside players, all with 4 fouls. Garcia, meanwhile, coolly knocks down the foul shot. Kirkland back into the ball game for Bobbitt.
Well, fortunately for Cincinnati, they play 10 deep. But at some point in the next couple minutes with a 13-point deficit, you're going to have to, if you're Bob Huggins, bring Field Williams and Tony Bobbitt back because of what they provide you offensively.
Whitehead tipped that one, couldn't get the handle, and there's a foul against Louisville. That's going to be the 4th personal foul against Luke Whitehead now. Luke Whitehead, highly motivated, the result of his father intervening a season ago, sent some newspaper clippings about how he used to rebound as a member of the Louisville squad back in 1963. And Kirkland steps to the line.
Don't forget his father played with another pretty good Louisville Cardinal rebounder, Wes Unseld.
Or Cincinnati not able to take advantage, Fran, of their opportunities at the line.
Both teams have not shot free throws well tonight. You can credit some of that with fatigue and the intensity of this game.
Artez out top. Garcia couldn't get it coming off the curve. Here's White in the open court. Fouled by Francisco Garcia. So the clock stops. Cincinnati down 13. James White goes to the line, the Florida transfer.
When James White had that ball at midcourt, Garcia was stride for stride. White knew all he needed to do was get it to the rim. There was no way for Garcia to cut him off at the pass and take the charge.
Bob Huggins says that James White sometimes tries to be a little too unselfish, and early on anyway tried to make this spectacular play instead of just the basic play, but last couple of contests he's played very well for the Bearcats. Whaley comes back in for Cincinnati. Johnson sits down. Whitehead sits down for Louisville too.
This is that point of the game where Cincinnati has to go on a run of their own.
Once again, the Bearcats show their poor foul shooting with 67% on the season from the line. 8:40 to go. Garcia out front.
You see Louisville now spread the court with a 2-3 set.
Field Williams getting set to check back in for Cincinnati. 8.5 to go. 12 seconds on the shot clock. Muhammad kicks it out to Dean for 3.
And that was all because of Haji Muhammad getting into the lane off the curl cut. That sucked the Cincinnati defense in. And TAQUAN Dean doesn't need much time to get his shot off.
Whaley fouled by Otis George. The officials in the second half tightening up a little bit with their calls. Field Williams coming into the ball game. White going to sit down. TAQUAN Dean, meanwhile, 50% from the field, 16 points. Started off slow. And he, for one, really catching on to the point guard role. Phoned Reese Gaines, former Louisville point guard, who also made the transition from shooting guard to point guard. Asked for a little advice, and Whaley missing another Cincinnati free throw.
Well, the free throw shooting has been a backbreaker. If you equate this to a heavyweight fight, Cincinnati's been knocked down now in round 11.
Foul going to be called against the Bearcats, and Whaley out top.
Well, and what you'll see right now, the next 8 minutes, is Louisville using all 50 feet of the floor to spread it out so that they can either drive or cut hard. Right now, they're in control of this game.
George going to step to the foul line with a 16-point lead. Look at the discrepancy in free throws. Neither team really shooting well from the line, but Louisville getting 12 more opportunities, which is huge.
Louisville has been very aggressive, especially off the dribble, attacking the basket. Cincinnati wants to throw it into Jason Maxiel. Louisville's done such a good job of double teaming him tonight. He hadn't been able to get himself to the line as much as he wanted.
Williams out front. Maxiel with two bodies on him down low. Good defense by Dean. There's Whaley. Maxiel battling with the board and got it.
Well, you saw a great example right there of Jason Maxiel's bulk on the weak side, being able to fight for position.
Maxiel with 12 points in the ball game, 7:15 to go. Dean working loose off the screen. Flash down, TAQUAN Dean.
We talked about the kind of range TAQUAN Dean has, and when he shoots it that quick, you've got to play him a little tighter than Cincinnati's playing him.
Dean lighting it up from downtown in the second half.
How about this, Mark? Watch TAQUAN Dean. You'll see him now on that initial play. Muhammad curls into the lane. Dean just spaces away from him. Muhammad kicks it back out for the open three. See another great job here. TAQUAN Dean getting that shot off quickly. And what you got to love about Garcia and TAQUAN Dean called Rick Pitino, telling him he wanted to play for him. He said, my two best players I didn't even recruit.
Hey, sometimes it's better to be lucky than a good recruiter.
I'll tell you the other thing. It's a lot easier coaching guys who want to play for you as opposed to guys who you got to chase them all over the summer and kiss their butt.
Oh, you speak from experience, it sounds like. Kirkland knocks down the free throw, but the story of the second half is TAQUAN Dean. He's from Neptune. And his game is really out of this world. I'm talking about Neptune, New Jersey. And right now, he's got enough to feed the needy, leading Louisville to their biggest lead of the ball game when we come back.
Cash or credit? Hey, Bank One.
I'm just really into whales.
I love fish sticks.
Find the card that fits you best.
Oh, she's so cute.
Bank One. Individual answers.
This is a crucial moment for the male. Cohabitation. It is a show of commitment. It is an indication of responsibility. It is love.
Rolling Rock beer. Grab a rock. Whoa. Digital widescreen high-definition TVs with digital auto convergence and HD component video inputs, plus high-speed velocity scan modulation. Don't touch.
Hey guys, check out the game in high def.
Now pay no interest for 2 years or get 10% off all TVs $299 and up. Thousands of possibilities. Get yours. Best Buy.
And cash or credit? Hey, Bank One. Bank One. Seriously, I've seen these all day. It's like a revolving door. Bank One, Bank One. I'm going to be sleeping. Bank One. Oh, Helen, another Bank One. You're right. I owe you lunch. Is that you?
Find a card that fits you best. Bank One. Individual answers.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of NCAA basketball. Brought to you by Rolling Rock Beer. Grab a rock.
Welcome back, everyone, to Freedom Hall in front of over 20,000 20,079 to be exact. And they are seeing a clinic here of shooting in the second half by TAQUAN Dean and the Louisville Cardinals. Don't forget, coming up next, #1 Duke taking on Maryland. ACC Wednesday, presented by Staples. That's immediately following this game. And you know what you got to love about the Duke Blue Devils? After losing up in Alaska against Purdue, they went back to the drawing board and have played exceptional basketball since.
Well, their guards have been very, very good, including Chris Duhon is having a terrific senior year. Great distributor.
Garcia out top, speaking of distributing. Handful of assists tonight. TAQUAN Dean dropped a dime, but Ford couldn't finish. Cortez couldn't finish. Let's go courtside to Dave Ryan.
Mark, you mentioned the TAQUAN Dean recruiting story. College basketball coaches get calls all the time from people guaranteeing they know someone who can play for their program. That certainly was the case with TAQUAN. Rick Pitino got a call one day from Kevin Owens, TAQUAN's guardian in New Jersey. Owens told the coach he has a can't-miss prospect. Pitino had to put him on hold, check with his assistants to find out exactly who TAQUAN Dean was and if Louisville would, in fact, be interested. He got a big thumbs up and went back to the conversation. Of course we're interested, Kevin. He signed TAQUAN Dean without ever seeing the Louisville campus. That is how you get a top recruit.
You know, Rick Pitino with that magic, of course, the NBA experience. A lot of young people who are looking for that type of guidance are going to look towards him.
They got a lot of sophisticated half-court sets, and the kids catch on to it here. They are coached up. Pitino big on individual instruction as well.
Well, the biggest thing both of these coaches teach is to have a work ethic, something that's missing when good players get to that NBA level.
Under 6.5 minutes to go. 16-point lead. Make that 18.
And that might be why Cincinnati hasn't utilized that full-court press tonight.
Well, Louisville showing their ability with good ball handling to break that pressure. Nick Williams. Good help defense by Otis George. Boy, they show and recover and step in those lanes, don't they?
Well, Otis George and Kendall Dartez are excellent defenders inside. They're not going to score you a lot of points, but they will guard the ball.
And the foul is going to be on Tony Bobbitt underneath. Cincinnati has just 10 second-half turnovers. Actually, 10 in the second half. Not a great number. Don't forget, coming up next, #1 Duke taking on Maryland from College Park. Going to tip that one off at about 9 o'clock, actually 9:10 Eastern Time. Dick Vitale and Dan Schulman on the call in that.
Well, and speaking of coming up next, remember February 21st, Cincinnati will return the favor as Louisville goes to the Shoemaker Center on ABC. And that's a place where last year Cincinnati hung a 101-80 whooping on the Cardinals. Tony Bobbitt, 25 points.
Bobbitt goes to the bench. There's 5:50 to go. And Louisville leading by 18 points. Haji Muhammad at the free throw. Great story in his own right. Was a walk-on for the last couple of seasons, and says that, hey, Mark, back in June, I got a phone call from Rick Pitino during the basketball camp. He came into the office and told me, congratulations. I said, congratulations for what, Coach? I said, well, congratulations. You just got a scholarship. You got a full ride. Wasn't expecting it at the time.
And it's not like he couldn't afford the tuition with his brother Nazi,
you think?
An NBA player. But I tell you, it's a badge of honor when you're on a full scholarship to play basketball in Louisville.
Kirkland knocks down the jump shot. Cincinnati down 17. Still a lot of time left, but not if they're holding and fouling. Cincinnati just one of 3 remaining unbeaten teams, and St. Joe's winning tonight against UMass. Let's look at the rankings on the left-hand side. Stanford also undefeated at 14-0, but Cincinnati right now on the cusp of falling from the ranks of the unbeaten.
Well, circle February 2nd because St. Joe's will go to Villanova. They'll go to the Pavilion on campus to take on Jay Wright, and that's a backyard brawl in the Big Five.
They throw out all the numbers, to borrow the cliche, in a Big Five basketball game. D knocks down the free throws. Lead swelling up to 19 points.
Cincinnati's got one more run in them, but they've got to get some stops and some quick scores.
Kirkland to the bucket and blocked by Garcia. And looks like Rick Pitino wants to call a timeout. Don't forget next, number 1 Duke against Maryland. Tip off at 9:10 Eastern Time. Whaley. A rebound to Dean. It's interesting how we got to this point, Fran. It was a 4-point game at the break, and then seemingly a series of, to borrow the analogy of a boxing fight, a series of body blows just kind of slowed down Cincinnati gradually and took the steam. And hey, when you work on the body, the head eventually falls.
Well, keep this in mind, Mark. We talked about Louisville being number 1 in the country in field goal defense. How about this? 32 times this year, opponents have had scoring droughts of 3 minutes or more. And that's what's happened tonight. It has been a game of runs. Louisville has come up with more runs.
19-point lead. Louisville on a 13-game winning streak after losing the first game of the season in overtime against Iowa. Here at Freedom Hall, Louisville, Kentucky, the Cardinals leading the Bearcats by 19 points with 5:19 to go. I'm Mark Jones along with Fran Fraschilla and Dave Ryan courtside. It was a 4-point game at the break, but Louisville is ready to slice this one. It is cooked and glazed already.
Always good every time you see a full court press. Every now and then, throw the home run ball. That will either get you the easy basket or the foul in that case, or it'll loosen up the press.
If you're another Conference USA opponent right now and you've watched this game tonight and you've seen the way that Louisville has pretty much nullified the press of Cincinnati, what exactly have you learned?
Well, I think what's happened is Cincinnati came in here with the idea that they weren't going to be able to press Louisville like they can press other teams. Keep in mind, Cincinnati and Louisville, maybe Memphis, maybe Charlotte, are the heavyweight division of this conference. So there's not a lot, say a team in the middle of the pack can really draw from this, because you've got 2 heavyweights here. What's happened tonight, 2 teams have gone after each other, Mark, and Louisville has come up with a few more stops, a few more runs, and have made more of their free throws.
Saw the magic number there on the screen. Field Williams has been a non-factor after suffering from foul trouble. Whaley slams home the rebound. Under 5 minutes to go now. The lead is 19 still. Like I said, not a lot of teams have the ability to give the ball to a big guy like Garcia to break the press. That time they mishandle the pressure, and Muhammad kicks it out of bounds.
Well, and that's one of the rare times tonight Louisville hadn't gotten something good off the Cincinnati press, and that happens more often with less talented teams, that they'll turn it over against Cincinnati. Louisville sees pressure defense every day in practice.
There's Chad Moore off the inbound pass. Answered by Francisco Garcia. Field Williams with a hand in his face. Jason Maxiel on the bench for the Bearcats, their leading scorer. Berkman couldn't get the runner to go.
Saw great half-court defense that time by Louisville.
Nice cut underneath and a basket by O'Bannon. Freedom Hall is a terror dome. It is a graveyard for opponents. The Cardinals have won 14 straight here, on the brink of making it 15. Right now, should they hang on, they would have a leg up on first place in Conference USA, improving to 5-0. Cincinnati, meanwhile, would fall to 4-1.
Well, remember what Louisville's doing tonight is holding serve because there'll be a rematch in February. Possibly a third meeting in the Conference USA tournament, which is in Cincinnati this March.
Jenkins comes out of the ball game. Dean comes back in. It has been the leadership of the two sophomores, TAQUAN Dean and Francisco Garcia, that has led the way for Louisville the entire game. Looks like Louisville almost took that one right off the rim. Back the other way they come. Whitehead to George. Rejected by WHALEY. Derisively staring at George, saying, not that one. Timeout on the floor. You can color this one red and white. Cardinal red. More on the other side.
All I want is room somewhere, a nice hello, not a questionnaire, and a great breakfast on the house, local calls, no charge, thank you, and someone who calls me by name and says,
hey, Mr. Jensen, you missed a button there. At Hampton Inn, you got it, Mr. Jensen, with our best rates guaranteed. And with all this, you won't get a better deal anywhere. We love having you here.
Oh, would it be lovely?
What stands the test of time? Our strongest bonds, our fundamental values. At New York Life, our humanity, integrity, and financial strength provide protection and security for millions of families through changing times. Values that make New York Life the company you keep.
Well, I guess it's 5 o'clock. Do you know where your shadow is? Well, if you shave with Schick Quattro, it's not here. See, Schick Quattro has 4 blades and 2 conditioning strips, which make Quattro unlike any other razor. And those 4 blades give you an incredibly close, smooth shave. So your 5 o'clock shadow shows up late. 5 o'clock shadow. Maybe you should change your name. Schick Quattro, the power of 4.
Bowling's best go head-to-head every Sunday. The PBA ABC Masters, Sunday at 1 on ESPN.
ABC tonight on an amazing all-new Celebrity Mole. Let the games begin. As 6 remaining celebrities battle their toughest challenge yet. One will bare her soul.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
An all-new Celebrity Mole Yucatan after an all-new Bachelorette, 10/9 Central, ABC tonight.
Welcome back, everyone, to a sold-out Freedom Hall. Louisville leading 83-62, just under 4 minutes to go. Meanwhile, action right now going on in College Park, Maryland, between Duke and Maryland. And it is a 4-4 game. They have just tied it up on a free throw. Those of you in Kentucky and Ohio, we will get you out to that game immediately after the conclusion of this one. Duke, number 1 of the country. Maryland has just taken a 6-4 lead. Here's Dean out front. Can't say enough about the leadership abilities of TAQUAN Dean and Francisco Garcia. Garcia fouled, and he'll get 3 foul shots.
Well, Garcia smiled, too, because he got the defender in the air. And once he was on his way down, Garcia jumped up into a shot and caused the contact. He's going to get 3 free ones.
Garcia 5 of 12 from the field, 1 for 5 from downtown. Shooting 75% from the free throw line tonight. That's his 7th make from the strike.
And if you want to talk about Louisville's aggressiveness tonight, the 38 free throw attempts, I think, says a lot about their ability to attack Cincinnati.
Fran Maxfield coming back into the ball game. Eric Hicks will sit down for the Bearcats. 3:44 to go. Louisville applying that full court pressure still. Now backing off a little bit. Chad Moore in the front court. Approaching 3.5 minutes to go. WHALEY Hit clean by Whitehead. They're saying loose.
Well, Bob Huggins will have plenty of show on his highlight reel before practice tomorrow.
Or low light reel. Whaley trying to earn himself some more minutes. With some play at the offensive end, missing that time. Garcia holds up a hand and says, I got this one.
How about a 6'7" small forward who handles the ball like a point guard?
Up top for Whitehead, knocked away nicely by Maxill. White to Whaley in transition. And he got the layup to go. Whaley approaching double figs here in the second half. All of his points coming mostly here in the second half. He had 12. Taking 2:30 to go.
Louisville content now just to spread it out, run some clock.
O'Bannon slapped away by Maxill. Kareem Johnson comes back into the ball game. Time now for our Rolling Rock shooting the rock. Cincinnati on the season shooting 48%. Subpar tonight at 44%. But I think the bigger story was really what Louisville did.
Well, Cincinnati on the offensive end did have a season-high 18 turnovers, but you are right. Louisville has been more aggressive offensively. They've attacked and shot 40 free throws tonight.
Garcia gets it out quick, doesn't he? Very quick on the trigger. Approaching 2 minutes to go in the second half.
Luke Whitehead has had a great 4 years. He played in high school at Oak Hill Academy with Cliff Hawkins and Sagana Jock of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Garcia playing with it, patting it out front. Got a stiff screen from D'Artez. That's it, really low.
Now, when you have a big guy that can handle the ball and pick and roll, the man guarding him is not used to being in pick and roll defense, and that time a Cincinnati breakdown.
Boy, D'Artez put up a roadblock on that screen. Meanwhile, Maryland trailing Duke by a single. That game underway. They'll get you out to that one immediately following this one if you're in Ohio or Kentucky. Dean with the rebound. A couple of teams separated by just 88 miles of interstate highway. Cincinnati and Louisville. Round 1 this season will go to the Cardinals. Round 2, no doubt, will be a slugfest up in Cincinnati a little bit later this month. That's a game that you'll see
on ABC.
ABC, 1 o'clock. Yep, coming up in a few weeks.
And if this has been a game of runs, this second half really has been one long Louisville run.
Dean slapped away by Maxill. James White on the break. He's fouled by D'Artez. Leadership counts for a lot. And when you have your 2 best players, Dean and Garcia, spending the most time in the gym, setting a great example, it really helps your case, doesn't it, Fran?
We talked about peer pressure, and they force their other teammates to get in the gym with them and put extra preparation time in. When you have these 2 guys, sophomores, you think about what's in store for Louisville basketball the next couple of years. Pretty darn good.
And that's Reggie Theus now on the Louisville staff. And talk about somebody that can also add knowledge-wise and help in individual instruction. Reggie Theus, a former star at UNLV and NBA star as well.
And don't forget Vince Taylor, who was a terrific star at Duke, played on that 1978 Final Four team for Bill Foster. Kevin Willard, son of the Holy Cross coach Ralph Willard. Scott Davenport.
3 short seasons. Rick Pitino has really turned around the Louisville program. 7th winningest head coach, active head coach in the country. About to notch up 1 more W. We got a foul. It's going to be against the Bearcats. A little bit of frustration, perhaps, as frustration etched across the countenance of Tony Bobbitt and the rest of the bench for Cincinnati. Don't forget, coming up next right here on ESPN, Duke leading Maryland 10-8. We'll get you that game immediately following this one.
Well, people have talked about Cincinnati with the swagger is back after that 17-12 season. And swagger is all about pride. Cincinnati's pride has been wounded tonight here at Freedom Hall. But we talked about that rematch coming up in February, and don't be surprised if they see each other in March.
With that new Conference USA schedule with realignment, Louisville and Kentucky play each other twice, and Louisville also has Memphis twice. They're not booing, folks, as you would guess. They're saying Luke, as in Luke Whitehead. A distinguished performance tonight. Cincinnati going to suffer its first loss of the season, which will leave just 2 unbeaten in the nation. And Louisville will increase its winning streak to 14 overall. Muhammad with the flush. Louisville ends Cincinnati's winning streak at 13. Round 1 goes to the Cardinals. And the Cardinals have won 15 straight here at Freedom Hall. Once again, the final score, 93-66 for Louisville behind TAQUAN Dean. It's been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For the entire gang, so long from here. Right now, we send you to #1 Duke in Maryland with Dick Vitale and Mike Patrick.